down the field. Happy tossing dimes, cup $1 million deal. Fantasy football, better know it's real. Tune into the podcast, tell us how you feel. We be going live, best believe we talk.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Football from Up North podcast. I'm riding solo today. It's Clayton here. Going to talk some week 3 waiver ads for you all to jump on board and go and grab before it's too late. We'll just kind of count this, do this by position, and then I will go break down how I would prioritize the guys that I do like coming this week. And I'm going to add a percentage of fab also into it this week. So hopefully you guys get a lot out of it. And outside of that, without further ado, let's just jump right into it. Let's start at the quarterback position. Guy I love, moving forward. Jared Goff, only 22% rostered. I should have mentioned, I'm picking guys that are, under 60% rostered in Yahoo leagues. So that's what I kind of base it around, the roster percentages. So start with Jared Goff, through over 250 yards on Sunday, 4 touchdowns. They're playing the Vikings next week. The Vikings are a very beatable defense through the air, and I think it could be another high-scoring affair. The Detroit just seems to be in these games where they're just putting up points left, right, and center, and I do think that Jared Goff is a very, could technically be a long-term replacement if you did lose Dak or, even Trey Lance. So if I'm going to go out there, I'm going to be, I'm going to go about 3 to 5% on my fab budget to go and get him. I do think that he's not going to be really, highly touted or, people after him because realistically, we haven't really seen too many quarterbacks go down outside of Dak and Trey Lance. So Jared Goff would be a guy to go out there and get, and, you're going to get production from him and moving forward. Another guy I do like is, we still talk about him now, Carson Wentz, still only 50% owned. This guy has been unbelievable. Back-to-back weeks, he's put on back-to-back weeks of QB1 numbers through, 30 passes, almost 340 yards, 3 more touchdowns this week. Look for him to get into a game where, I think the thing with Carson Wentz is they are not the best team. Problem is being as they go down early. So they're going to be forced to throw a lot, basically negative game script every game. And now that we see the kind of talent that Wentz does have thrown the ball to, I think Wentz is a solid option as well, moving forward. And we can probably, really their schedule is pretty soft up until about week 7 when you get to go and face the Packers. So, he's startable. He's a QB1 in my opinion right now and beyond this week too, and next week. Like he's really found his game in Washington. So I do like him. I'm going to use about 5 to 8% of my fab budget on him. And it just kind of depends on what your need is for quarterback as well. So another guy we'll just touch on because we talked about it earlier was Jimmy Garoppolo, with the fact that Trey Lance is out for the year. Jimmy Garoppolo steps right into that picture. We're going to kind of see, he's probably going to be a lot more comfortable. He's going to get a lot more first team snaps in practice this week. So look out for him moving forward. I'm not going to go jump on board with him quite yet, just because I do like Goff and Wentz a little bit more than him, to be honest. Running back position, Tyrion Davis-Price for the 49ers, only 8% rostered. With Elijah Mitchell out, it's a Shanahan run offense, right? So we weren't quite sure who was going to get the run at this. Jeff Wilson was the lead back. He had 14 touches last week, but we also saw Price step in as well and have 14 himself. So, he wasn't the greatest last week, but with Wilson is the fact that if Wilson does go down, Price is going to be that next man up. It's not going to be Jordan Mason like everybody was talking about, but Price is going to step in to be that primary back if something was to happen to Jeff Wilson. So Price is more of a kind of stash candidate in my eyes. I'm spending a little bit on him, about 3 to 5% of my fab budget. Next guy I like is Raheem Mostert, Miami Dolphins. Basically, if you were to look at how this, the snap split between these two guys with Mostert and Edmonds went, it was all Mostert in my opinion. Mostert played, and the whole thing is he only played 3 more snaps than Chase. So playing time, look like they're going to be splitting the ball 50-50. but Mostert did out carry Edmonds 11-5, I believe is what it was, and he out targeted him as well. So Mostert, I kind of think is going to be that lead back. I think they're still going to split the ball 50-50. But the fact is that I do think you're going to see Mostert in on those first and second downs. I think Edmonds is going to fall back into that, the role that he kind of had in Arizona, where he was that pass catching back. So Mostert's the kind of guy that I do like moving forward. He's 43% owned. He's not probably, not as available as some of these guys that we're going to talk about today, but I mean, if he's out there on your roster, I'm gonna throw about 10 to 15% at him to go and get him as well. Now, this guy here I'm interested in is J.D. McKissic of the Washington Commanders, 23% rostered. Now, I understand Antonio Gibson had a good week one and then came down to earth yesterday, or on Sunday. He did outsnap McKissic, but it was only 40-34 when you look at the snap counts. Gibson saw 4 targets, and now we start to see McKissic back in there catching his 6-7 balls, and McKissic caught all 7 of them. I mean, this guy's got hands like a receiver. 7 catches for 54 yards. Obviously, like we talked about, he's going to be game script dependent, but we just talked about this with Wentz in general, right? It's going to be a negative script for this team. Their defense isn't that good, but they seem to be able to move the ball. So, I mean, there's value in a guy like McKissic if you are playing in a negative game script. And depending on who you have in your running back positions and stuff like that, you could always, depending on the matchup, you could always flex out McKissic, and you can see, double-digit fantasy points. And he showed last year that he was that capable pass catcher. So, I mean, he definitely needs to be rostered more than 43%. And he's probably worth about, I would say about 8 to 12% of your fab budget. And he could pay off in the long run. Now, this is a tricky one here. We got Darrell Williams and Eno Benjamin, both highly unknown. Like, I think it's 3%, 1%. Now, with James Conner's injury, we're not quite sure what the status is on that moving forward. But Darrell Williams is a guy that I personally do like. He carried the ball 8 times for 59 yards, scored that touchdown. My concern, though, was it because Arizona was down? So Darrell Williams is going to be that, that basically that pass catching back, because he was catching balls out of the backfield. So does that mean that, Benjamin is going to be the first, second down back, and then, Darrell Williams? But to be honest, if I have to put my money on, I'm going to go with Darrell Williams, just basically because of the fact that he's a veteran. He knows the game. He's been, when given the opportunities, he's been productive. So I think he's going to probably get the first crack at this. I think they'll just kind of roll with the hot hand after that. But I don't think there's a chance that Darrell Williams lets this slip away. And I do think that you're going to see him dominate touches in this backfield moving forward. So go and get him. Now, if I have to prioritize these running backs at the moment, I'm going to prioritize them as such. Probably going to go Mostert first, Darrell Williams first, Mostert second, McKissic, and then Tyrion Davis-Price fourth. So that would be my order. How I'm going to do it. I just do like the upside that Darrell Williams does have. So now on to the wide receivers. Noah Brown's got to be one of those guys we talk about right now. 1% rostered. He's running as a wide receiver 2 for Dallas. Caught all 5 of his targets last week for 91 yards and a score. So he looked good doing it too. He looked explosive. So now there's injuries. Now there's an injury to Dalton Schultz. So I do think that with the injury to Dalton Schultz, and we're still not sure when Michael Gallup's going to be returning, I do think that Noah Brown is still going to slowly start to get that rapport with Cooper Rush, and I do think that we're going to see him as that wide receiver 2 and putting up fantasy numbers on a weekly basis. So if I got to throw money down on him, I'm going to throw not too much, like 3 to 5%, but I'm just saying, I mean, if you're going to, especially PPR, you're going to go get a guy like like Noah Brown. He's getting targeted heavily, so go and get him. No, I just dumped him in one of my dynasty leagues like last week too, so I'm kind of kicking myself for that. But oh well, it is what it is. Another guy we're going to talk about real quick is Jahan Dotson, still out there in almost 60% of leagues. 2 straight weeks now. I mean, McLaurin, he's been pretty much the third receiver on this team, possibly even fourth receiver. Well, third receiver on this team. Dotson led the team in snaps and routes run. And while he still only faced 5 targets. So I was looking at some stats online today. If I could find it real quick here. Where are we here? Oh, brutal. I had it picked up too and just kind of lost it. Damn it. Oh, here it is. Sorry. 53 routes run last year. He led the Commanders. He basically, it was more than McLaurin. And the fact that, even with the fact that he is not being targeted as heavily, he's getting those important targets, those red zone targets. Scored again last week. Wentz has trust in him. And I do think that we're going to see this moving forward. I think Dotson is a solid flex option until he proves us wrong. And that's where we talked about all these rookie wide receivers. They've just been dominant lately. So another one we're going to talk about is Jacoby Myers, New England Patriots, 35% rostered. Now, I'm not really I don't trust anybody in this Patriots offense, but when I kind of break everything down, he's a must add in my opinion. He's 38% of the target share last week, averaging almost over 8 targets a game with Mac Jones. And I mean, what more do you want, right? I mean, you come to this offense, he's not going to win you any crazy matchups. He's not a sexy name or anything, but he's going to be very serviceable, wide receiver 3 flex play, especially PPR leagues. Like I was saying, he led all Patriots in snaps, routes run, and targets. He had 13 targets again last week, caught 9 of them for 95 yards. So solid option. I'm going a little aggressive on this take. I'm going to probably go about 15, maybe 20% of my fab budget on him, just because he has durability. He's durable. He's always been that consistent guy for the last 2 years. He's been putting out decent numbers, not the best numbers, but that's kind of based around kind of the offense. But I'm trusting him moving forward. Guy like from last week too is Josh Palmer. I mean, Keenan Allen's still probably might return next week, but I mean, Palmer kind of stepped in and kind of showed us what he can do. And even if he's going to be a wide receiver 3 in that offense, they throw the ball enough. I mean, I know Herbert's banged up now. We're not sure what's going to happen with that, but I mean, he got 4 of his 8 targets last week for 30 yards and the score. So, I mean, basically, Allen, the chances of that are the chances that Allen and or Mike Williams misses more time throughout the year is very likely. So I think in that case, if you stash Palmer now, you're going to easily have at least a wide receiver 2/3 if one of these guys does miss some time. So I'm going to throw about 10% of my fab budget at him. This guy here, I like digging big time here because, I hate the offense too, but he just seems to be working, is Sterling Shepard. He's not my top priority as a receiver, but he's up there for sure, at least my second. So 32% of the targets a week 2, 10 total targets. So, I mean, if you look at snap counts now, he played 90% of the snaps. And now you're going to look at the guys that he's playing with, Kenny Golladay. Kenny Golladay saw 2 snaps last week. So, I mean, this is a guy that they paid well, and they just have basically no use for Kenny Golladay. Apparently there was, his locker was empty and everything was pulled out of there. So I'm sure there's just going to be some heat coming down the way there, probably this week at some point. And the fact is, the last 2 games, Shepard's now averaging over 14 points with Daniel Jones as his quarterback. So, I mean, it's his second game now he's come out, and he's performed well. I mean, he's comfortable in that offense, and he's being used in as in a bigger part of it too. where last year we kind of saw him when he was on, a couple targets here and there. Now he's getting heavily targeted. Like I said, 10 targets. And I don't know, like he just seems he's their wide receiver one. He's the only one that I do trust in that passing game. I mean, you look at it, that's Saquon Barkley, Sterling Shepard. Those are the two guys that I trust in that offense. So, I mean, if you can go and grab Sterling Shepard's only 10% owned, I'm going to go dump probably 15 to 20, maybe even 25%. If he's out there and I'm struggling at the wide receiver position, I'm going to go and get him. So, because it's just going to keep getting higher and higher as the weeks go on, because he's going to keep doing this. So, I mean, within 2 weeks, I think he's going to be rostered, and I bet you over 70 to 80% of leagues. So go get him now while there's still a chance. Now, the number one guy that I do want out of this receiving core is Garrett Wilson of the Jets, only 20% rostered. It was this, breakout game yesterday. He caught 8 of his 14 targets, 102 yards last week, and 2 touchdowns. So, I mean, I still do like Elijah Moore, but I do think that, with Flacco running this offense, he's been very efficient. He's moving the ball. The only thing that's slight concern, knock on Wilson, is the fact he's still only paid just over 60% of the snaps. I mean, looked at Corey Davis, he was 55%. So, I mean, he's the one that's being heavily targeted and he's playing less snaps. So a guy that's in that situation, I'm going to take a chance on him because he's basically shown, Flacco's shown that he likes him and he can make things happen when he gets the ball in his hands. So, I mean, I will almost dump 50% on Wilson. I mean, I love this one dynasty team. I have Drake London, I have Garrett Wilson, and I have Dotson, all three of those guys. And I'm going to probably have the youngest starting lineup next week against my opponent. So as far as wide receivers go, I'm going to basically prioritize them. Garrett Wilson, Sterling Shepard, go Dotson, and then Noah Brown, and then we'll go with Josh Palmer. So a couple tight ends to talk about real quickly here. We got Tyler Conklin of the Jets and Evan Ingram of the Jaguars. Now, Conklin, CJ Uzoma was out last week. So, I mean, Conklin played every single snap. He played 100% of the snaps and, led the team. He was second in targets on the team, caught 6 of his 9 targets for six of 9 targets for 40 yards and a score yesterday. He didn't score. My apologies. Now, when it comes to Conklin, he's going to be a type of guy that he did well in Minnesota last year, and now he continues with this team. He's going to be productive. And the thing is Flacco likes to look his way. I do think that if we talk about it all the time, tight ends, tight end position is pretty outside of the top 5-6 guys, you're pretty much just throwing darts every week. So if you're a guy that's like streams tight ends kind of similar to I do, I mean, I'm going to go grab Conklin. I did grab him this week and I did start him, so it kind of paid off. But I mean, if you're going to get a highly targeted tight end if you go and get Conklin, both 3 to 5% of fab on him this week if you need a tight end. And Evan Ingram's the other guy. I mean, basically, so the tight end position it's a wasteland, and he's not terrible. Played 70% of the snaps against Colts. Colts are an absolutely horrible team, but I mean, led team in targets with 8, so he's being used. I mean, that's what they went and got him for a reason. So now, unless you have one of those top 5 tight ends, you're going to be looking for a guy that's going to be catching the ball. He had 7 catches for over 45 yards last week, so he's kind of a back end tight end one in my opinion. I'll probably spend a little bit similar to Conklin, like a 5% to 7% of my fab on him to go and get his services. So another one, Logan Thomas. He's probably I'm going to prioritize him when it comes to this tight end position. And it just seems like I'm a Washington like big fan or something like that. And I'm not. I just love the way that Wentz is running this offense. Logan Thomas, he's not quite fully back from his injury, but I mean, he did play over 70% of the total snaps, caught 3 of his 5 targets last week for 37 yards, did get in the end zone. So that's a positive mark for him. Now, it's only, maybe a week, could be next week, could be the week after, but I mean, it's just a matter of time before we're talking about Logan Thomas as, a top 12 tight end for the week. And, especially if, like I said, if Wentz keeps throwing the ball as much as he is, spreading that ball around, Thomas is going to be on the end of that, especially in the red zone as well. Between him, Dotson, and Curtis Samuel, they're just dynamite. This Washington off these pass catchers are really paying off for fantasy purposes. So throw about 8 to 10% on him, and kind of hope for the best when it comes to all those guys. So outside of that, I'm sure I missed a whole bunch of guys. I just want to jump on here real quick, throw an episode, let you guys know who I like for this week. And like I said, if you're going to prioritize and you got to, want to throw a lot of money down on somebody, Garrett Wilson is my guy this week. If you're looking at the tight end position or the quarterback position, I'll lean at, I like Goff. I like both. I like Goff and I like Wentz. But if I had to prioritize one, I can't remember who I said earlier, but I don't know. Either one of those guys, they're serviceable. So that's kind of what you need. I'm starting Goff in the league. I'm really happy with the way that this Detroit offense is running. So, and the running back position, like I mentioned earlier, I think I was going to go lean on, once I pick up my names here, Darrell Williams. That's who I liked. So outside of that, guys, I appreciate you guys all for all the support. And, I'm getting a lot of comments on the podcast and stuff like that. So I really appreciate it. I appreciate all the feedback. And outside of that, we will talk to everybody later on in the week when we do our week 3 preview show. Until then, talk soon. Peace.